Hi, hello, thank you for clicking on this video, and today I'm doing my first new makeup releases, yes or trash. I wanted to have like a catchy name, like a original somewhat kind of name, and I thought about new makeup releases. Well, that's not really original, that's just what it is. But I wanted to have something after that. So I was thinking, and yes or trash came to my mind. I don't know if someone has already made that up. I thought it would be kind of fun. I hope it isn't offensive. At least that's not what I'm trying to do. I just want a funny, catchy name. Yes or trash. New makeup releases, yes or trash. Like, of course, I'm not going to put anything in the trash. It's just me talking about makeup and what I feel like it's good, what I feel like it's a yes, and what I feel like it's a bit of a... It's not like actual trash because that's like really mean, but I wouldn't go out and buy it. It's more like that. Of course, this is just my opinion, you have yours. This is just me having fun talking about makeup, and I hope you have fun as well watching me say my opinions. That's literally just that. I don't know if I'm going to do this all the time, probably once a month. All the makeup releases, or the ones that I feel like are interesting in a positive or in a negative way, but interesting. And yeah, like every month or every couple of months, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure it out, but I thought it would be fun. I'm going to start in a good season of the year, like Christmas time. All the brands are launching new things, and yeah, there are some questionable releases, but there are others that I would kind of buy, but of course I won't buy all of them or any. Okay, let me just slide to the side and let's start. Okay, I decided to start with Huda Beauty, the Naughty palette. It's really Christmassy around Christmas, but it's not a red palette like a lot of people do. It's a pretty neutral palette, pretty brown palette. You can go a bit more purple, a bit more pink, a bit more reddish kinda. A really sultry brown look, a bit more lilac-y with that shimmery shade, but I don't think I would buy this palette. And that shade on the bottom left of the palette, it's like a cream shade. It's really the slippery shade. Yeah, like slippery cream shade. Okay, we get it. But it's very like strange when you look at it. The first time I looked at it, I was like, what is that? But then I saw this picture from Ida Marielle where she showed an actual swatch of the shade. Yeah, I don't know about Huda and putting these types of cream shades in a palette. I don't know how much people are going to reach for that shade, or if she could at least put another shade in that color if she really wanted that color. It's not for me. I wouldn't pay $67 for this, but if you like it, go for it. The next one that I'm going to talk about is from BH Cosmetics, the palette Naughty. Wow, another palette called Naughty. Christmas time. So this palette is a really interesting Christmassy palette because yeah, you have the reds and the shimmery, like that shimmery Jingle Bells shade, like a silvery goldy shade, I can't really tell, but you also have greens and blues and purples, and I really think it's a pretty like diverse palette. I wouldn't get it, and I kind of feel, I don't know if it's just me, but the order of the shades, I don't know, it's kind of confusing to me. It feels like it is on a diagonal, that light diagonal and then the dark diagonal and then the reds and green on top, and then yeah, I don't know about the color story, like how they actually put the shades. But in terms of the colors, I really like them. But I don't know, it also seems like it has a lot of shades. You could probably have less eyeshadows, but I don't know. For the smaller palette, it's a really simple palette. You have a black, you have a blue, a dark blue, which is really nice to pair with the shimmery shades. But yeah, it's a pretty simple palette. Everyone can use it, especially if your type of makeup is just put a matte shade on the crease and then put whatever shimmery shade you want on the lid. You have loads of shimmers in this palette, and you could choose if you wanted more of a pink shimmer or orangey shimmer, like a yellow, a silver. I feel like that is pretty neat. A lot of people would actually use these shades and could use this palette as their main palette, but I won't buy it. Now for the next palette. This palette, if it wasn't as expensive as it is, I would for sure buy it. But I don't really see myself paying $129 for a palette. Yeah, that's just me at least. And it's the palette from Natasha Denona, the Trio Chrome palette, and it's super beautiful. You can see it has those 3 multi-chromes and all the other shades. Like, I really like it, but I wouldn't pay that for that palette. Yeah, if I want multi-chromes, I will just buy from other brands like single shadows, but $129, yeah, I won't do it. Now, Melt Cosmetics. They came out with the Beetlejuice collection, and when I looked at it, it wasn't exactly what I thought it would be. I don't know if it's the palettes, they are in a different packaging, I don't know, but they are coming up with 2 new palettes. One is more of a red palette because of the waiting room, and the other one is the Recently Deceased palette, where it has more yellows, greens, and purples. If I was going to buy any of these palettes, I would go for the Recently Deceased palette, the purples and greens palette. I don't know if the packaging is throwing me off from the shades, like the background of the palette. I don't know if it is that, but something is making me not really enjoy it. Other than that, the colors are beautiful. But yeah, I'm not going to buy anything. But if I had to pick one of the palettes, it would be the Recently Deceased palette. Now for a new brand, Jamie Genevieve. She came out with a new brand, the brand Vive. And yeah, it's a pretty neutral brand, at least for now. The things that they are coming out, it's a pretty neutral palette. I like it. Like, if I didn't have any palettes, I would for sure consider buying it if it was like in front of me, if I had to pick. But right now I'm not going to buy it. It's pretty, but it isn't that unique that I would want it, that I would spend my money on it. She's also coming out with lip liners, lipsticks, highlighters. I don't think I'm going to buy any of these. I'm pretty curious, but I'm also curious about loads of other brands, but you can't try everything. So I don't think I will buy anything. If I ever buy anything, okay, good, but none of these. Now for another new palette. I've been actually looking for a green palette, or a green small palette, or a bigger palette that has greens in it. And yeah, Jeffree Star heard me, but I won't buy his makeup, so yeah. But he came out with a green palette, the Blood Money palette. It costs $52, and yeah, it's a green palette as it says on the name. I feel like, yeah, it came out with the red palette, the blue palette, the purple palette, and now this green palette. I feel like it did a good thing coming out with this green palette in the same packaging as the first 2 palettes, because the Bloodlust palette, I don't know if that was the name, that packaging was really unnecessary, I think. Like, okay, it can be pretty, not that I think it was pretty, but okay, but I get it, but I feel like this normal packaging is much preferred. He can create really good color stories, but I just won't buy from him, so yeah. Now for Nabla. Nabla came out with a new palette, the Side by Side Nude palette, and it's a pretty neutral palette, as it says on the name, nude, and it is going to be at $39. It's a pretty neutral palette. If you don't have any palettes and you really want a palette, like a neutral palette with some shimmers, yeah, it's a good palette for that. But for someone who already has palettes and neutral palettes, you don't really need it. I feel like the most exciting thing about this launch is the glitters. The Ruby Lights glitter palette, it's $25. I wouldn't pay that for it, but yeah, those are really pretty and I feel like that's more unique. But yeah, I won't buy anything. Now for another green palette, or you would assume so. You would assume that this palette would be green, but it only has 3 greens in it. So yeah. Kylie Cosmetics came out with the green palette at $40. It's just a neutral kind of palette with 3 greens. I wouldn't buy it. I won't buy it. I think the shimmery green is actually really pretty, but I wouldn't buy the whole palette just to have it. You could take out those 3 greens and it would be a pretty neutral palette. So if you want the greens, there are other palettes with greens and you don't need to have loads of neutral shades with it if you don't want to. Now for Haus Labs, they came out with 9 mini palettes, 4 pan palettes, and I think they are pretty cute actually. If I had to pick one, I would probably pick the one that has the green and like the one that seems like a watermelon that has a green and a pinky shade, or probably the blue one that has the shimmery blue, or the one that has the purples and the shimmery yellow. I think those 3 are the ones that are the most exciting for me at least, but they are coming out with 9 different palettes and I really think this is kind of cute because you can really pick which one you want. If you go on vacation, that's really not the best time to go right now, but if you really go on vacation, like you can just pick one palette and you have 4 different shades and you can use it, and it's pretty simple. The thing is that they are $24 each and I wouldn't pay $24 for a palette that only has 4 shades. At least I'm not that interested to pay that much money for these palettes. Now talking about Huda again, she is coming out with a gold palette as well, a 9 pan palette. This palette is pretty cute, like it's those 9 pan palettes that you can just go around with them. It's a pretty neutral palette, it's really beautiful, but I think it's a bit too light. She could at least have like a more dark shimmery shade or a darker matte shade. I don't really know. I'm not going to buy it and I don't think I would buy it. I think the only one that really interests me are the nude palettes, the one that she has 3 different ones, a light one, a medium and a dark. I really like the medium and the dark one, but I don't know if I would actually buy them. Colourpop is also coming out with lots of palettes. These last ones, or at least the last ones that I know of, the Boudoir Noir and the Ménage à Moi. I don't know if I said it correctly, but they are both $18. One of them is like a more purpley palette and the other one has greens and more yellow shades. I think they are both really pretty, but when I looked only at the palettes, I really didn't give anything for them. Like, they were pretty neutral, but then when I saw the swatches that Makeup Just for Fun did, I was actually like, oh, I really like them. I really enjoyed them, but yeah, I'm not really that interested in them as well. Now for the last one, I'm going to talk about Give Me Glow. She is coming out with the Sweet and Sticky palette and I feel like it's a pretty cute palette, especially the names. The names are amazing, like They See Me Rolling, Let's Get Baked. But yeah, I never ate a cinnamon roll. Don't judge me. I'm from Portugal, so I don't think they sell those in here. They probably sell them at Starbucks or something, but yeah, I've never tried them. I am curious to try them, but I never did. But the colors are really pretty. You can create really simple looks with these shades. The only thing is that I think if you want a palette that only has 6 eyeshadows, Their shadows are huge, and probably if they were a bit smaller, the palette would be smaller as well, and you would be able to take it with you on vacation or something. But that is it for my first new makeup releases yes or trash video. If I had to pick one thing, it would be the Natasha Denona palette. That palette is so pretty. I really like it, but I really don't see myself buying anything that I talked about, so yeah. But that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you also have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!